Hello, I'm Janine Turner, founder of Constituting America. Welcome to our annual academic study entitled History Holds the Key to the Future, or as Shakespeare said, what's past is prologue. This year's study is entitled The Genius of America, A Journey into Our Republic, a study on Alexis De Tocqueville's Democracy in America. But as Lincoln pointed out in his famous Lyceum Address, the passions of revolutions fade with time. This essay is entitled Why So Many Ambitious Men Exist in the United States, but So Few Lofty Ambitions. It's Volume 2, Part 3, Chapter 19, pages 599 through 604 of Democracy in America by the University of Chicago Press. Why So Many Ambitious Men Exist in the United States, but So Few Lofty Ambitions by Dr. Eric Sands. In this section of Democracy in America, de Tocqueville elevates his analysis from just focusing on America to discussing democracy in the abstract. He begins by observing that most everyone in America aspires to be nothing more than middle class. Quote, there are no Americans who do not show that they are devoured by the desire to rise, but one sees almost none of them who appears to nourish vast hopes or aim very high. All want constantly to acquire goods, reputation, power. Few envision all these things on a grand scale, end quote. In other words, Americans are highly ambitious people, but they do not have great ambitions. They work tirelessly to achieve little more than a comfortable self-preservation. What causes this? De Tocqueville points out that democratic revolutions create great ambitions because during them nothing seems impossible. Ambitions will show themselves to be great so long as the revolution continues. The passions of revolutions will extend for several generations and keep ambitions elevated. But as Lincoln pointed out in his famous Lyceum Address, the passions of revolutions fade with time. What replaces these passions is normalcy, which in democracy means ambition that is, quote, ardent and continuous, but cannot habitually aim very high. And life is ordinarily passed in eagerly coveting petty objects that one sees within one's reach, end quote. In short, what turns Democrats away from great ambition is the sheer amount of time and effort they put into improving their station in life. They, quote, compel the soul to employ all its strength in doing mediocre things, end quote. But the problem, as de Tocqueville points out, is that, quote, one does not gradually enlarge one's soul like one's house, end quote. In democracy, quote, ambition is therefore ardent and continuous, but it cannot habitually aim very high, and life is ordinarily passed in eagerly coveting petty objects that one sees within one's reach, end quote. The other thing that keeps Democrats from aspiring to greatness is the amount of time required just to, quote, make, unquote, it in life. Never mind being great. Few people in democracy come to greatness quickly since the rules make advancement slow and tedious. As men become, quote, more alike and the principle of equality penetrates more peacefully and more deeply into institutions and mores, the rules of advancement become more inflexible and advancement slower. The difficulty of quickly reaching a certain degree of greatness increases, end quote. People, therefore, do not aspire to great things in the future, instead living for the moment or immediate profit. In the end, Democrats give up aspiring to greatness at all, lacking the pride and self-confidence required to accomplish great things. Thus, for de Tocqueville, pride in the pursuit of greatness is no vice, and humility, focused on the pursuit of material gain, is no virtue. Democracy does not directly suppress greatness, but it places a myriad of hurdles and obstacles in the person's way that discourage great ambition and great ideas. The laws do not stifle ambition, the people subdue it. De Tocqueville's greatest fear is that democracy will choke out ambition, at least great ambition, and leave behind the rule of mediocrity. De Tocqueville says, quote, I avow that for democratic societies, I dread the audacity much less than the mediocrity of desires, What seems to me most to be feared is that in the midst of small, incessant occupations of private life, ambition will lose its spark and its greatness, end quote. All political societies require the presence of great men and women to lead and help regimes progress. In democracy, these great people must come from the people. But how will they distinguish themselves? Given that they are likely engaged in their own self-preservation, what is to orient them towards politics? Yet beyond this, de Tocqueville identifies an even greater danger with this lack of greatness. What greatness requires to distinguish itself is pride, because pride is the spur to the actions required for liberty. Moralists, de Tocqueville says, are constantly condemning pride as one of the greatest of human vices. This, de Tocqueville remarks, misses the mark on what constitutes dangers to democracy. Without pride, human beings see themselves as only worthy of enjoying the, quote, vulgar pleasures, end quote. It is not that such a person lacks the ambition to pursue lofty undertakings, but that people cannot then envision what such undertakings are. Therefore, modernity needs to recognize that a certain measure of pride is important for the maintenance of human liberty. This essay was written by Dr. Eric Sands. Eric Sands is Associate Professor of Political Science at Berry College in Rome, Georgia. He teaches a wide range of courses in American government and political theory. Dr. Sands is also a professor in Ashland University's MAHG program.